There we go. They are live and in living color. Sorry, a minute or so late this morning, but trying to throw some stuff together around here to give you the best show that we possibly can. Good morning. It's Drive Time Radio. I'm New York Vinnie coming to you live from the Esperance Media Studios in beautiful Edmonds, Washington, where we broadcast from most of the time when we're not out on the road. But we got a good hour or so of automotive stuff planned for you this morning. We have a brand new Yo Vinny, what are you driving this week? We also have a road test, radio road test that should be a very good one, and some news that you should know about, things that you should know about if you're out there driving around or sitting around. Big weekend this weekend. Let me say one thing first before we get into what this weekend is about cars, because we all know it's the Indianapolis 500. This is a weekend. I am one of those people that I have such reverence and such respect for the people that were killed in the defense of our country. I can't imagine what it must have been like or must be like in some setting to have somebody come to your door and say that you've lost your son or your daughter in defense of our country, and how you, no matter how you felt about that war, didn't feel about that war, those people gave of themselves so that we Americans can enjoy what we enjoy. We can have shows like this. We can talk about cars. We can talk about all different types of things freely and openly. And it breaks my heart to see that more and more there are people that squander that right and that freedom that was so bitterly and bloodily fought for. So while I always advocate that you go out and you have a good time and you uh, take part in all of the benefits that this United States of America gives you as a citizen, whether you like them, you don't like them, whether you think people should have, shouldn't have, no matter across the board. This is a day to me to stop and take a minute, take a second, but offer some part of your weekend remembering those who gave so that we can enjoy what we have today, because without them, there would be no us. So if you have a family member or a friend or a relative or someone who gave the supreme sacrifice so that we may enjoy what we enjoy today, thank you. Thank them for their service. Thank you for your contribution to what makes this country great. And I think in times like this, where there seems to be so much division and so much apprehension, it's especially important to take a minute out of your day, or to take, one of your children aside, or all of your children aside, and explain to them that Memorial Day is not just about jumping in a inner tube and drifting down some river, or going up to the cabin at the lake. That maybe on the way up to the cabin, you should stop at a veterans cemetery and say a prayer, or lay a flower or a wreath or something that would symbolize that you recognize the sacrifice that people gave through all of these wars so that we may have the freedom and the independence that we do enjoy. And having been to countries where that kind of freedom is not enjoyed, I could vouch for the fact that it is nothing to take for granted. It is nothing that you should ever for 1 minute say, "Oh, who cares? Who cares who runs the government? Who cares that?" This is something that is we owe a responsibility to those who gave their lives in so many different ways, across the board, from the revolution right on up to what we're doing today in different parts of the world. We owe them a debt that really we can never repay, except in one small way, and that is to be truthful, to be aware of what's going on around you, to not say, "Well, the heck with it." And I don't want to get too preachy. This is an automotive show. But so much of what this country stands for, the freedom that we have, so much of it is brought upon us by the automotive industry. The freedom that you have to go out in your car and load your family and the cooler and the picnic table and the tents and everything up and get in that car and go somewhere, camping or whatever you're doing, without having to go down to the government office and get permission from some uh, uh, lieutenant of the government saying, "You got to, well, you can't go there this week." Why? Well, we're just not letting people there. Well, what do you mean? Well, we don't have to answer to you. You will never realize what that is worth until you lose it. So I'll get off my soapbox. We will, a little later in the show, do a little pay tribute to a vehicle that sadly was probably one of the last places that many soldiers ever took a ride in. So many army vehicles, military vehicles out there of so many different configurations, but many of the dead, many of the wounded took a ride in just a few different vehicles. I was been reading up on this almost all week, and have actually read on it and looked at it, um, over the years, because it's military vehicles and that kind of thing fascinate me, especially the intertwining of the different companies that were involved at the time to bring about these vehicles and the engineering course. I mean, the Volkswagen thing was the German version of a Jeep. It was built by Volkswagen. The the different all-wheel drive systems were developed so that different military units and vehicles could move across the desert or move up to the high mountains, or so many different things. And we see so many, much as in the space program, we see many things developed for the military that are now stuff that we see in vehicles, that we look at and we take for granted: high beams, low beams, power steering, all of these different things that really were developed in many ways for use to make military vehicles more agile and more able to get to different places. So that's we'll talk about that a little bit later. There's lots of other stuff going on too. Of course, this is Memorial Day weekend. It is the start, really, of the summer traveling season, where people get on the road and get away. And this is going to be an interesting one, because as much as we hear so many different things about people that 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 don't keep in mind uh, the things that they need to do to make these things happen. Well, that was just a word jumble, wasn't it? In other words, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different things. It's a happy, it's a sad holiday. It's a holiday to remember, but it's also a holiday to get yourself geared up for the fun that is coming up this summer. We find that it is getting more expensive once again to do that. Price of gas goes up uh, for a couple of different reasons, but we're seeing in California $6 and $7 a gallon gasoline. That's something that happens really every Memorial Day weekend. The prices make their switch from the winter mix to the summer mix. But something I also found interesting as I did my research for this week's show is that the average age of vehicles on the road in the United States is up by a couple of months compared to what it was last year. Average age of a car on the road this year is 12.6 years um, compared to what it was last year. And that's up by like 2 months. Passenger cars continue to trend higher. They're at 14 years compared with light trucks at 11.9 years. Now, what that is telling us is that people are hanging on to their cars longer. Why? Well, I think one of the big reasons is the cars, for the most part, are better built. There used to be a time that I can remember where, you'd get a car and, 4 or 5 years, it was ready to go, ready to be traded in, ready to be gotten rid of. But nowadays, with the better systems, the age of electronics in vehicles, and so much more, cars last longer. They're better built. There's no comparison to the car that you get into today and turn a key and start to a car that you bought in 1968. They just didn't last as long. The materials, the technology, all wasn't there to make that car last longer. So you are benefiting from that. As I said, 14-year average age of passenger cars. Now, that's not exactly helping out the auto dealers because, their dealers, they got to get you to get rid of those cars, every 3 or 4 years. But one place that is helping them out is in the back room, which is the auto repair service department portions of their businesses. Those parts of the automotive business are growing and booming because people are keeping. Well, one of the reasons is because it is so expensive to buy a new car. You go in to buy a new car now, and there's not a lot of great deals to be had, except we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. But the service departments and auto mechanics are benefiting from this because people are sinking the money into their cars to fix them, to keep them longer. They're saying, well, instead of trading Betsy in here, I'll take old Betsy and we'll fix it and keep it running a few years. Not that long ago, 100,000 miles was the marker on when you got rid of a car, right? I mean, you got to 100,000 miles and you were like, all right, time to get rid of this thing, right? It's not anymore. You own a Toyota, let's say, and you maintain it and you keep it up and you keep that thing in good shape. You change the oil all the time. You keep the right amount of air in the tires. All simple but key things to do to extend the life of a car. Change the filters, the oil, all of the things. You keep an eye when something goes wrong. You don't let it sit there and say, well, I'll fix it when I get a chance. I'll fix it when I get a chance. You take it in and you get it fixed fairly quickly. You're gonna that car now is that used to idea was you were gonna peter out at 100,000 miles. Now it's not uncommon to get 150, 200, 250 out of a decent car. I mean, some of the Toyotas, and Toyota really hits the mark with these. You can have a Toyota Corolla. There's 150,000 miles and hasn't broken a sweat yet because they're well-built, well-maintained cars. And it's really, to me, gratifying to see this. So that car that you used to get rid of at 90,000 miles or 80,000 miles because the guy at the dealership was telling you, hey, you never know when something's going to break down. Well, we all never know when something's going to break down. But it's very true that right now you can expect a lot more out of your vehicle if you're driving a vehicle that's 10, 7, 5 years old than you ever could before. And that's good news for the consumer. It costs you a heck of a lot more money to repair that vehicle. There's no lie there. I mean, good Lord. I mean, I never thought I would live to see the day where you would see $100 and something for an oil change, except at a clip joint. But if you want, it's the key to it. It's the key to anything. Is mechanical like this is if you maintain it. If you follow the manufacturer's instructions on maintaining that vehicle, it will get you. In most cases, there are some rare cases when it won't, but for the most part, it's like there's no horrible cars out there these days. I don't see, for the most part, a horrible car. They're built mostly by computer. The assembly lines are all doing a good job. So a car is a good deal these days. So that's why the age of cars seems to be at least one factor. Now, another factor is if you are in the quest to buy a new car. Many of the people that I read, many of the people that you look at and you say, okay, are saying that this is a great weekend to buy a car. Rebates are back. Deals are out there to be had. We're not in a situation like we were last year where you couldn't get a dealer to come off of a sticker price on a car. If you did, you had some magic. This year, not so much. Dealers need to sell cars. There are day supplies that are looking ridiculous. There are cars sitting around with 2-year supplies. That means if they sold, it would take them 2 years at a reasonable pace to sell all the cars that they have sitting on lots. And that's not good for anybody. Not good for the dealers, not good for the companies, not good. Maybe it's good for consumers because dealers become more motivated. This whole idea that these dealers had of a couple of years ago where we're going to keep the car in the lot. We're going to keep the car in the lot because somebody's going to come along and buy that car for the ridiculously high price that we're asking for it is not a reality right now. It may go back to being that, but it's not a reality. So if you're looking for a deal, if you are somebody who is saying, this might be the weekend I want to go out and buy a car, this this could be it. This could be a good weekend for you. So be aware of that. Check your newspapers if you're out there and looking to make a deal, looking to buy a car. You find out that this is the weekend that you need to buy a car. The combination of those numbers going up of the average age and the willingness of companies to move vehicles along that have been sitting for a long time. Between those two things alone, you have the ability to, the ball is in your court. Now, yeah, if you're out there trying to buy a Shelby Mustang, or you're out there trying to buy a Corvette, or a vehicle of that stature, yeah, probably still going to be a little tough to deal with. Those cars are demand items. There's always going to be a little bit of a little less negotiating room to buy one of those cars. But still something to think about. We're looking around a little bit at the campsite capacities around the state of Washington and its environs, and it is a pretty pretty loaded up. People are on the road this weekend. So something that you may want to pay attention to if you're going to go someplace. Call ahead, because there's always seems to be places where you can, find a spot to hook up and do your camping. There's always BLM land. There's always people that don't show up, and that you might be able to get a late spot at a particular campground. And I think it's fun. I'm going to get out on the road myself this year, sometime in the summer. Matter of fact, I want to try to do a little bit of a series where we get out and spend some time with some of the van life people, because I find them very fascinating. I find, anytime I find a 21-year-old person get a van and put the work into it to customize it so they can sleep in it, so they can live in it, and so they can travel. That's a beautiful spirit to me. I like to see it. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about what motivates those people. I want to know more about what makes them do that. So we'll have more on that. But if you can, jump out on the road this weekend a little bit and go put some fresh air in your lungs, as my mom used to say. Put the fresh air in your lungs. Oh, what else is happening in a wild, wacky world? A lot of people are talking about, for those of you who are into these key cars, KEI cars, they have one that I don't know if you've noticed them. You probably have seen it on the road. They're very popular here in the Northwest. But it's a van. It's a Delica, I think is the way you pronounce it. It's a smaller van. And so it's probably 3/4 the size of one of the regular vans you see. And it looks like Mitsubishi, who is doing, is not doing so great as a car company right now, but yet have been finding little niches where they could do well, especially in off-roading. I drove a Mitsubishi. Man, I can't remember which one I drove, but I drove their premium off-road 9 or 8 passenger vehicle a few months ago. As a matter of fact, I had an accident with it. I remember it. And I remember, and the accident was my fault, by the way. It had nothing to do with the car. It was me being stupid, which sometimes can happen. But sometimes you test out some of these systems on the car and you take it for granted that they're going to work. And for whatever reason, this one didn't. And I, boom, hit a car. But Mitsubishi is got a program out called Momentum 2030. It's their plan for North American markets. And what they want to do is come out with more products, more dealers, and expand their product portfolio. So, and one of the pieces of that is a van, either the same thing or similar to this little popular Delica. And, any of my friends who are into off-road and, trying to, do something a little bit different to draw people is a good thing. People love these vans. They love these little small key car vans, or K cars, Kei in Japanese. I don't know if that's key or K. So I'm going to go key car. Anyway, people really love them. And they're a little less expensive, take up a little less room, but smaller is better in a lot of cases. A lot of people are proving that you don't need these big Jagunda pickup trucks and vans and everything to go out and have fun. As a matter of fact, you can have just as much fun with less. You can equip these things to do anything one of those big things can do. And the perfect example of that is the car that'll be on our radio road test this week, the Ford Maverick pickup truck, which I just spent the week in and have absolutely fallen in love with. I think if I were going to go out and buy a new vehicle right now, the Ford Maverick pickup would be right at the top of my list. It's small. It's handles well. It's very easily manageable in a cityscape. It is. It gives you versatility to either carry passengers or packages or cargo. And I just think that Ford has really hit the nail on the head with the Maverick. And they come in different configurations as far as different models, so that you can buy, if you are looking for a inexpensive pickup truck, they're out there for, I think, $27,000. You got to find one for that because they are popular. But Ford is printing out every one that they can do, and I'm sure that we'll see before too long a Ford Maverick Raptor out on the road at some point. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. One of the other anticipated cars that are expected to be coming along here soon, people thought they were going to see it much before. We all thought it was going to be here already, is the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which is the Volkswagen little bus that is sweeping all over the rest of the world except for here in the United States. They can't seem to get it together to get them here. It's it's kind of sad because this is another vehicle that I think will be a huge hit, especially in places like California, Arizona, Texas, Florida. An electric van, looks like an old Volkswagen bus, but modernized. A lot of personality, a lot of versatility. They even make them with the old Westphalia top that pops up so you can turn it into a camper. I think these things are going to be huge as well. They come in cool colors. They just haven't rolled them out here yet. But when they come, you'll see them all over the place. They are electric. And so, be forewarned that you're going to have to go over to the dark side. as many of you are call the electrics the dark side, which is somewhat sad, because I think, as we all know, electric is going to be they're wildly popular now, and they're doing nothing but getting more popular as it is. Also, another one to watch out for, and this is one I'm really interested in, and we're going to be talking about the Kia the Kia Telluride a little bit later, which is, by all reports, the Telluride is a great full-size 9-passenger vehicle or 8-passenger vehicle. But going the other way on the scale, Kia is getting ready to launch, I believe, in South Korea next month, their EV3, which is all about affordable electricity. A smaller vehicle, probably somewhere slotting in between the Soul and the Seltos, that is going to have personality. It's going to be all electric. It's going to have a great range, probably over a 300-mile range. And again, a small vehicle, electric vehicle, that will fulfill almost anything you need it to do. You get the kids to school, you go to the store, now, again, is it going to be a great car to take a long road trip on? I don't know. We'll have to see how comfortable it is. But Kia and Hyundai are really doing some incredible things in the electric space. Their electric vehicles, I drove the EV9 just, 2 weeks ago, and that was just such a pleasing car to drive. It did everything you wanted it to do. And even a few things that really brought you along and helped you out. It had the inverter, so if your electricity goes out, you take a cord and you can stick your refrigerator in the plug, and you can run your a lamp and an inverter in it. You can, it's seated 9 people comfortably. The build quality on it was great. So all of these things, and the Hyundais are the same way. These people are knocking it up when it comes to electric vehicles. So that's something that if you're into electrics, you should be looking for. As a matter of fact, electric's making a lot of news this week. Oh, by the way, the BMW Skytop concept car, V8 power, stunning vehicle. Absolutely stunning vehicle. Go online and look to see if you can find the Skytop. They made it up. It's made up for a show that's coming up. It's going to be one of their show cars that they're rolling out. And I'm going to tell you that this car was stunning. It really brought you looking at this thing to a place of back when you used to see those sleek, smaller BMW convertibles that I think they were like the 5 Series or something like that. But these cars were, they stopped traffic. They were so good looking. They really were. And comfortable and fun to drive, and had power and grace. That's one thing people never really talk about with a BMW is how much grace the car has. And it really does have a lot of grace. Another thing around electrics, and this is something that's going to help the plants, the people of Oklahoma, which need all the help they can get down there, is that there is I guess there are deposits of lithium. Everybody says, well, what do we do if we can't get lithium from China, if things go belly up with China? Well, a company called Stardust Power is trying to get a lithium processing plant built in Oklahoma. They say they would be able to process 50,000 tons of lithium via underground sources, getting the metal out of the brine. And the Inflation Reduction Act, as we all know, says that we have to get more domestically sourced minerals in vehicles if we want to get the tax credits for them. Well, Stardust Power and others would fulfill that. And they've accessed up to $30 million in financing, private financing, to build and operate this plant in Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA. In Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA. And so if they can get 50,000 tons of lithium out of the ground in Oklahoma every year, that would be enough lithium to supply 1.1 million electric vehicles. So be that a good sign for those who want to work in the electric vehicle industry, because if we can get these, I mean, it's a matter of security, really, when it comes down to it, isn't it? I'm sorry that I'm a little hoarse. I'm going to the dentist this week. I have to have major work done on my teeth, or what's left of them. And anyway, I don't need to tell you my problems, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Matter of fact, that's why General Motors is down there by Slab City in Southern California. They're looking to suck lithium from the Salton Sea. And it's interesting times to watch in the electric vehicle industry. I know that there are so many people who are against this, and I know there are so many people who seem that they say it's never going to take off, but it is taking off. It's somebody, we have to get past the political part of this. That electric vehicles are un-American, or they're this, or they're that. We've got to get past that stuff, folks. And we got to start looking and saying, how can we make this work? Because it is going to be the future of vehicles. And they don't seem to be, I mean, to my looking, I like them. There hasn't been an electric vehicle that I've driven, well, save for one, that I really didn't like. I like the the ambiance of the car. I like the different things, the different feel of it from an ICE car, internal combustion engine. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love a good V8 engine, and I still love that sound, and I still love that thunder. But there's something about that electric vehicle getting you vroom, 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 and you're not using gasoline to do it. It's not spewing carbon monoxide and different stuff into the air. And we have the chance to apply our intelligence in recycling and reusing materials into automobiles that we didn't have the first time around. I used to pull a car into a gas station for an oil change, And the guy would take the oil, he'd run down a corner there, and he'd drop it in the sewer, and that'd be your oil. That's how you'd get rid of it. No wonder there's lead and different stuff in so many different reservoir and groundwater tables. This is going to be a whole different thing. It's going to be more expensive, but we're going to be able to do it right. And this is probably in one of the a way to look at that. We're gonna see it. It's going to happen, and what it's going to do also is get jobs here in America. We need jobs in America. We'll get them here in America, and high tech, good paying jobs. Hopefully, not $20 an hour jobs, but jobs that incentivize people to go to school and to learn something and to learn a craft, a trade, and learn how to put things together and learn how to work with your hands, and then apply that work to building cars, building motorcycles, building electric vehicles. Can't imagine that it will. Can't imagine that it's going to go belly up. We all just have to kind of get past our political stuff on this and concentrate much more on the building out of these infrastructures so that you can take that trip in that electric vehicle, and you'll be able to charge it from point A to point B, and you'll be able to relax and not worrying where your next charging station is coming from. And that's happening. We've already interviewed people on this show that are putting those types of networks together. And we'll continue to talk to them. I'm a big fan of the electric vehicles. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I love the ICE vehicles. Absolutely love them. But I'm just looking for guys. Anyway, just thought that they're really spectacular vehicles. And anyway, we talked to one guy at the auto show last year that was putting together kind of a program, an app on your phone that kind of gave you the whole deal. You put the app on the phone, you popped the app, and it told you where the nearest charging station was, if it was occupied, how long it would take to use it, how much it would take to use it, how much, just had all the information right there at your fingertips. And really, that's what you need. That's the thing that you need right now. The one thing about electric vehicles is that you have the knowledge to being able to plan your trip out. Listen, I'm the worst planner in the world. Half of this show didn't get planned until 20 minutes before we started doing it. But yet, a tool like this really helps a person like me. It really helps. It helps somebody like me put together, an ability to take a trip in one of these things. And with more and more electric vehicle charging stations opening, with the ability now to use Tesla's chargers on many, many car brands, this is a game changer. This is a game changer. This is going to make that trip from New York to Los Angeles or New York to Seattle or however you're going, ba-bing, ba-boom. It's going to make it so much more confident. We'll make it easier because you still got to drive the car. But it'll make it confident that you'll be able to recharge your car anywhere that you need to between point A to point B. And that's something that you have to, you really have to plan. You really do have to kind of plot yourself out a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to be okay to go this far. I'm going to be here. I can charge the car here. Which for some of us that are not gifted like that can be hard. But the benefits that come with it, the saving of the environment, the lower use of fossil fuels and things like that, I think make it well worth it. By the way, I'll tell you who's driving an electric car this week. Now, if I can find this little file here, but the Indianapolis 500 is this week. We had Kirby Arnold on last week talking about it, setting it up for us. The race is tomorrow morning. It is the All-American race. I love it. I mean, I won't say I sit there and watch the whole thing, but I try to catch as much of it as I can. It's just, it has that, it's America to me. It's America that we have in May to start off another beautiful summer. You have the Kentucky Derby and you have the Indianapolis 500. It gets things going. It gets that summertime blood rolling. And so tomorrow will be the Indy 500, and Ken Griffey Junior will be driving the pace car. I'm excited. I mean, I like the fact that the kid is into auto racing. He has he's been in Indianapolis a number of times as a photographer. I know he and Randy Johnson both love photographing race cars. Not just race cars, they really like photography. And let's face it, they both have the money to afford the equipment to do it. So go out there and have some fun. But they really find a sense of an ability to present beauty and power through a photographic lens. And I don't know if you've ever seen some of Randy's work, but it really is spectacular. He is really become one of the premier photographers. I guess maybe he's tall so he can see over everybody else, but he really I'm very admirable of Randy in the way he has taken to photography and shown it as a true love and a true passion of his. And I like to see Junior out there taking pictures too. I'm very happy with the way he has gone out and taking pictures and used that access that he has to I mean, to be able to present a lot of different photographs, perspectives, things that through his eye. I think it's always interesting to see something like that through the eye of somebody who you totally know for something else. So I think that's a very good thing. All right, what do you say we pull in one of our great segments that I love to do here every week, because the show would be nothing if I couldn't, of course, tell you what I was driving this week. So this is it. It's what am I driving this week? I'm driving the what am I driving this week? Yes, the Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro. One of my favorites. I've really, if I haven't screwed this up here, which I sometimes do. Oh, Vincent. I'm driving the Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro. I really have taken a shine to this vehicle because It does what it does so well. It is the top of the line, 8-passenger, 3-row SUV that is bathed in luxury. And from the minute you look at this thing, you look at the Kia design language that was used in this vehicle. When you look at the quality of the fit and the build in this vehicle, you really get a chance to see and to feel that you're driving a quality vehicle. You know, a lot of times you get into a big vehicle, and I don't know, it surrounds you with luxury, but does the luxury feel real? Are knobs falling off? Are things misaligned? Are textures different? Are we using hard plastics instead of soft touch materials? And to me, I think the Kia Telluride really gives you just this air of luxury that when you get in it, you feel like it's from the time you get into the seats and you sit in these nicely appointed leather seats, you sit up high, you adjust the seat, there's space everywhere in this thing. It really does give you that king of the road feeling and a lot of functionality. All right, let's see if we have the right clip up here.
Yo, Vinnie, what are you driving this week?
There we go. Well, I think we're gonna see it here. There we go. Yeah, this is the Kia Telluride, and stunning in looks, stunning in driving ability. It just really gives you a feeling that you are seeing. Big vehicles used to be the domain of the American manufacturers, right? It was Chevy, it was Ford, it was Dodge. And that's what it was. But with Kia coming along with the Telluride and, other vehicles coming along, Toyota with the Land Cruiser, you're seeing that there's other companies that can do this very, very nicely. And the Kia Telluride does do it very nicely. The Kia design language on this thing is evident as you walk around the car. Getting into the car, though, into the interior, you see quality materials, nice soft touch leather in the seats. The seats move back and forth quickly so that people can get into the third row without a big hassle. You don't have to twist and turn and do the Bristol stomp to get in there. In front of you, as you sit in the driver's seat, you see incredibly well-crafted, well-thought-out interiors that give you a lot of storage space, a lot of cup holders, a lot of places to plug in whatever you need to plug in, and a vast screen in front of you to take a look at all of the stuff that's going on. Under the hood, you have the GDI engine that is under there that is making pretty decent amount of horsepower there. I think if I'm not mistaken, the X Pro, the 3.8 gas direct injection V6, 8-speed automatic, all-wheel drive. It gives you all of this stuff, including heads-up display. It really does look like that the Kia and Hyundai and some of those other companies have figured this thing out a bit. You add to that list some incredible safety equipment, forward collision avoidance, and that's not only just for pedestrians, but for cyclists, for turning, blind spot collision warning, rear cross traffic collision avoidance assist, parking distance warning, and you feel well protected. There's airbags all over the place in this thing. And again, I go back to that screen that we were looking at just a couple of minutes ago. That thing really gives you a feeling that you are looking at.
Yo, Vinnie, what are you driving this week?
To control what's going on around you. It has obviously Sirius XM, the Harman Kardon premium audio system that's in there, but it's just the way it looks. to me, their Kia design language has really, it's really an attractive vehicle. It takes that little dip at the back toward the roof. So it's not just a square looking vehicle. The openings are wide. The captain seats that are in the interior are comfortable to sit in. Heck, even the fourth row is comfortable. The third row is comfortable to sit in this vehicle. 20-inch alloy wheels are sharp looking. You got dual sunroofs in this thing so that you can, when it's a beautiful day out, open those sunroofs up and get yourself some vitamin D. The power folding seats, the captain seats, go forward and give you plenty of room to get into that third seat for passengers. And if you have to drop that seat down and use it for cargo, it's an incredible amount of space back there. So all in all, and again, I mean, I'm driving this thing a couple of days, so I haven't given it the full gone through yet, but a very good, very solid, very competitive with everything else out there effort from Kia. I like that it has a gazillion plugs. You can go here, there, and everywhere and plug into that thing, and you're going to get you're going to have enough plugs to keep everybody happy, enough USB ports and so on and so forth to keep everybody happy in the vehicle. And check this out: this particular vehicle that I was that I'm driving this week, I'm driving it right now. I was shocked, actually. I was shocked. By the way, 5-star overall vehicle score from the government 5-star safety ratings. Frontal crashes give you 5. Side crashes, frontal crash gives you 4, excuse me. Side crash will give you 5. You want more information on that, go to the government safercar.com website, and that'll show you more. But what really impressed me about this package, and I'm telling you that this thing is very elaborately equipped. By the way, the X-Pro designation gives you more of it gives you a heavier suspension. It gives you more things that'll be useful. It encourages you to take it off the road. It just doesn't say, park me in front and make it look like you're an off-roader. You can take this X-Pro and take it off the road. Go up into the hills. Have a little fun with it. $54,175 is what this vehicle is stickering for. I got the sticker right here in front of me. And that is with that wolf gray paint, the carpeted floor mats, the cargo cover, and everything else. $54,175 for a vehicle that I would put up against, a Tahoe or an Expedition. And I'd say it would fare just as well. Solid effort from Kia. I'm excited to spend a week with this thing, and we'll give you a full deep dive report next week on, if we could find anything bad with it. I try not to find anything bad, but, every once in a while, something comes up. But very good stuff from Kia. That is our Yo, Vinnie, what are you driving this week? Don't forget that you can find these. We put them all on our Facebook pages and on our X page and everything else that we have social media wise. So you can, you can get to know what's going on. If you ever have a question about a vehicle, very easily reachable. You can get to me by email is probably the easiest way. Vinnie at drivetime-radio.com. That's Vinnie at drivetime-radio.com. By the way, if you run a business or you need some promotional items, business items, things that will promote your business in a better light, giveaways to people, T-shirts, especially now you got graduation time coming around. So you have, different kinds of keychains and things like that you want to give out to people. Please, I beg you, to look up my friend George Jackson online. George Jackson of GJ Promo does a spectacular job with all sorts of these promotional items. Anything from T-shirts to jackets to tablecloths to tchotchkes, key rings, all of these different things that you give away in the course of business. George designs them, gets them manufactured, gets them to your door, and does it at a great price. He is a great guy to talk to, a real good, solid guy. His business reputation is unassailable. When he says to you, hey, Herbie, I'm going to get this stuff for you on Friday, he will get you that stuff on Friday. And if there's a problem or anything like that, he will work his ass off to get you what you need when you do business with George. It's been a long time sponsor of this show since the beginning, so please help me keep this show alive by helping George. If you have any kind of that thing, you get any kind of things that you need for your business, GJ Promo online, and you can also look him up on Facebook, George Jackson Promotions. He's a good guy. He's a guy that's worth a phone call just to talk to him and see what's going on with him. He's a Jersey guy. We stood out in front of Madame Marie's together in the freezing cold. That's when you bond with somebody. All right. Let's now get to I wanted to spend at least a couple of minutes on the show this morning. I know we're probably going to run a little over, but that's okay. I wanted to spend a little bit of time this Memorial Day remembering people that had probably one of the hardest jobs in the Army, or the Navy, or the Marines, or any motorized service. And these were the people in the medical corps, the people that drove the ambulances, the people that were probably with more soldiers when they took their last breaths and slipped off of this mortal coil that we call Earth. This had to be such a non-thankful job. You're driving a truck in the middle of a war zone. Your job is to go out there and pick up wounded or dead soldiers. You're not out there to fight. You're out there to get people back to some semblance of safety in a place where there really is no safety. And it was really, in reading up about this and looking at the different vehicles that were constructed by different companies that were building frames and building bodies for these things. These items that were developed, these were developed from basically caissons that they used to take out behind a horse to go collect the dead or the wounded. I mean, here you have guys riding a horse, going out and trying to pick up wounded soldiers, and many times getting killed themselves. And it seems that at a certain point after World War I, the powers that be decided that they were going to have to get specialized vehicles, build specialized vehicles for the to pick up soldiers, to pick up wounded soldiers, and to take them as safely as they could, either to die or to get fixed. How many people died in these vehicles? That the last thing that they saw was maybe a roof of a field ambulance. They had animal-drawn ambulances that were still in use back in 1941. They had the field ambulance, which was a motor vehicle ambulance, which was basically a light commercial duty delivery truck that had racks built into it so that you could pile casualties in the back. Many of these were built by Chevrolet Motor Division of General Motors Corporation. Not too long after that, as the war got hiked up a little bit more, the half-ton 4x4 field ambulance, which you probably notice the most from war movies and MASH and all of that, was constructed by the Dodge brothers. And now there was a change where they were allocating these ambulances to field units such as infantry, cavalry, and armored division because they had a larger patient capacity. As a matter of fact, they even supplanted the 1.5-ton field ambulance. And as I said, these mostly were built by the Dodge brothers, or Dodge. You had also a larger ambulance that was a half-ton 4x4 to get to different places. The panel construction was a bit heavier, but it was made to go in place. It was made to go up rougher terrain. It was made to go up high terrain. These were body on chassis 4x4s that would go just about anywhere. These were made in different versions of a Renaissance car, a reconnaissance car, a weapon carrier, pickup truck, a panel truck, a telephone body truck. They were all constructed in Detroit and then fitted in. And this was the part of this whole thing that really made it. It made it almost like a mini Detroit, but in areas like Lancaster and Carlisle, Pennsylvania, near the War College there. Many of these trucks were developed and built there to be sent off to war, whatever had to be added to them once they were out of the factory. They were. And I just wanted to make mention of the people who drove these trucks and the people who took their last breaths in these trucks. The roofs of these trucks were probably the last place a lot of these soldiers ever saw. And we always think of the passing of a soldier and in a line of duty. And, they all just don't pass like that. They sit in this truck and the job of these Army corpsmen and nurses and people who were involved in this kind of endeavor, the Army Ambulance Corps, it was really incumbent upon them and a human duty of theirs to be able to make people feel more comfortable because, let's face it, there were some that you knew weren't going to make the night. So I've heard stories and read stories of guys who would decorate the roofs of their ambulances with pinup girls, pictures of home, all different kinds of things to make some of the people that were riding in their in that ambulance a little bit more comfortable. The 3/4 ton ambulance was developed in September 43, and this had a steel panel and plywood body. Had 2 men in this vehicle, a driver and an orderly. You had 4 litter cases or 7 sitting cases. And they were marked up with Geneva Convention markings, although those really never stopped anybody, I often think, from shooting at these things. The most widely type of ambulance used throughout World War II between 42 and 45 was the WC-54. They were produced on behalf of the U.S. Armed Forces. 29,502 of these ambulances were produced. These are the ones that was built on a 3/4 ton WC Dodge Series chassis and a 6-cylinder Dodge engine, but with side boxes and a camper-like body, which folded up, and a soft top cab, which was designated a knockdown version. As they went through, they weren't developed until later in the war. These are the vehicles that you saw also predominantly in the Korean War. These served well into the 1950s. And I just wanted to take a moment to honor the people who were involved in the Army Ambulance Corps, the people who laid their lives out on the line and often didn't come back from missions to go out and save wounded and deceased soldiers, to make sure that they came back to get a proper burial or proper transport back home. It had to be one of the toughest jobs in the Army or in any branch of the service. And I don't know that that they're really talked about that much. So on this Memorial Day, I know we always pay tribute to so many different things and so many different facets of soldiers passing away, that I wanted to pay tribute to those who were killed in the line of action with those vehicles. And one interesting story that I ran into as I was doing the research for this, and I thought that this was very touching. There's a company, you probably heard of them, Oshkosh, that builds a predominant amount of military trucks that are built today. They also were the company that when they got the order to build all the new mail trucks, everybody said, who? Oshkosh? But if you've been around vehicles, you know Oshkosh for a long time. American company in Wisconsin. And they have developed a fleet of trucks that go out into the battlefield and come back and drive autonomously. So you can send one of these trucks out into the field without a driver, which I don't think is any big news. But what I did find very newsworthy about this is the initial run of these trucks that were built. I think there was 24 original trucks that they built in this series. And each one of these trucks that now goes out there and can go out on the battlefield, pick up supplies, deliver supplies, and you don't have to send a soldier out there with it. You just send it out radio controlled, and they're having much success with this, much like we see the robo-taxis in San Francisco. Each one of these vehicles that they have built so far have a plaque on the dashboard. And on that plaque, that particular vehicle is a name of a United States serviceman who lost their life driving a truck on a mission to pick up wounded. And I know it's not a big thing, but it touched me. It just made me really realize that it may be nothing, but how wonderful the family of these people who lost their sons or their daughters or brother or sister or whatever must feel to know that their name is being carried on a vehicle in some small way. We're not naming, we didn't name a battleship after them. We didn't name a troop transport after them. But somewhere out there in the world of the dirty world of war, there's a truck that has a person's name on it and a little description of their death, so that people forevermore will know that story of that person. I think it has their name, their hometown, and a short thing of how they passed away. So I just think that to me was a story that needed to be shared and needed to be told. So to Oshkosh, to the company that makes all of these vehicles, I don't know who came up with this idea, but I salute you. And I thank you for remembering. It doesn't matter that your name is on the side of a battleship. It doesn't matter that your name is on the side of a plaque on a dashboard of a military truck. It's that somebody remembers that sacrifice. Somebody remembers and knows that you are more than just a body laying on the side of a road in a war zone. And I think that to me, is something that we should all remember on this Memorial Day. It's not rah-rah, it's not sis boom bah. Although, in my research, I did find that John Philip Sousa, one of the great composers, composed a theme for the United States Army Ambulance Corps. It was written in 1918. It's a medley type march. And oddly enough, this thing had disappeared for years. And then somehow, going through papers in the Library of Congress, they found the march. So I don't know if they're going to be able, if I'm going to be able to play it for you here. But it would really be nice to be able to let you hear a little bit of it. That is the United States Marine Band doing the U.S. Army Ambulance Corps March and that's from the Complete Marches of John Philip Sousa, Volume 5, and that is how we will wind up our show this morning, I should say. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of the show today. Enjoyment, entertainment. We thank you so much for spending time with us. We'll be back next Saturday morning at what time do we usually come on here? 11 o'clock, yeah. At 11 o'clock, if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. I appreciate every one of you who have spent time with me this morning. It's great to get together and hang out on a Saturday morning. By the way, thanks also to my daughter for helping me do some research for the show today. And also don't forget to keep an eye on the Indianapolis 500. Watch that pace car because you'll know the guy who's driving it. And that gets off, I think, around 8:30 tomorrow morning on Peacock, I believe, and I think it's Peacock and NBC. So until then, have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Be kind to each other. And I'll see you on Monday for Mikey and Vinny. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.